G'day there guys, Marky here, and welcome back to another episode of r/relationship advice. I do hope you enjoyed today's episode, and with that said, I want you to sit back, relax, chuck a prawn to the barbie, and let's just get right into it. Posted by user DirectCaterpillar77, titled, Am I the asshole for sabotaging my husband's relationships? In my country, arranged marriages are very common, and this was how I, 24 female, got married with Jason, 24 male. Note that I said arranged marriages, not forced marriages. An arranged marriage is basically when your family plays matchmaker with you and someone else, but it isn't forced. It's important to say that I never wanted to get married and am for sure placed somewhere in the ace spectrum, because sex was never something important to me. But I knew Jason since we were kids, and he was always nice to me, so I accepted to spend some time with him and see where it would go. Turns out that Jason and I had a lot in common. Our country is pretty religious, but neither of us saw that much importance in religion and just pretended to our families to not cause problems. We are both more on the introvert side and don't like crowds or big family reunions. When I told him about my feelings about sex and sexuality, he was sweet and understanding. We ended up becoming good friends, and it was obvious the idea of marrying each other seemed appealing for us. So we got married 2 years ago. We made a deal to be basically good friends who were married, to not have sex, and to sleep in different rooms. He was allowed to sleep with whoever he wanted since he was not getting this from me. Everything was perfectly fine. Our families, however, really started to pressure us to have children this last year. Since this was so important to them, we agreed to, try. But first I asked him to make an STI exam since he had his fair share of casual sex, and even though he reassured me that he always used protection, I wouldn't feel safe otherwise. After the exam showed he was clean, we had our first time together and it was great. Way better than I could ever imagine. After that, he noticed that I liked it and asked if sex was in the equation of our relationship now. I said yes. This was a few months ago, and since then, we've been having sex pretty regularly, but we also started to spend more time together outside of that. And I think my feelings of friendship for Jason are starting to change. Not only that, but I started to feel jealous of his casual relationships, especially his affair with this girl, Anna, 20s female, who he's been seeing pretty regularly for the past few months. I'm scared if he starts to fall in love with her because he always speaks highly of her, and he seems to like her. So I kinda started to sabotage his dates with her and the other girls, in a way. I pretended to have headaches, to feel sick or sad, or any other excuse so that he has to stay with me instead of go and see them. I know it's childish, and maybe I should just talk to him about it, but I'm so scared that he doesn't feel the same way, and things get weird between us. It's not like we can escape each other. Am I the asshole? I think in a way, it's a little bit of an asshole move to not just speak directly to him. I do think it's a little bit childish in this situation, like, you're literally married and you have rules set up. You can agree to change those rules, OP. You're scared that he doesn't feel the same way and things get weird between you. If you continue to sabotage the dates with him and the other girls, that's gonna make things weird, isn't it? It's gonna cause friction, it's gonna cause fights. I think it's better if you just tackle this head on and get a clear understanding from the both of you as to where this relationship goes. Does it continue with both of you guys exclusively being monogamous? Or does it break up because he doesn't want to be monogamous? So for that, because you're not communicating properly, I'm gonna go with you're the asshole for this one. And now, onto the updates. OP here, the responses here were very enlightening, although some of you should probably learn how to be kinder to others. Not my fight to have anyway, but I listened to your advice and talked to Jason yesterday. It went great. It really made me wonder why I thought this wasn't an option. He actually knew that I was trying to sabotage his dates, but it didn't matter that much since he was thinking about stopping with them anyway. In fact, he told me he already told the women that he was seeing that he wanted to stop going out with them around 2 weeks ago. I apologized anyway, but he thought that it was cute and said that I'm a terrible liar. I asked why he didn't talk about it either, and he said he felt that I needed some time to reach the point that I would feel ready for this conversation. Most importantly, He said he always loved me, that he accepted our early dynamic because he knew that it would be hard for me to find someone who would understand and respect my relationship with sex in our culture. And he's right. I don't think people even know what an asexual or a demisexual person is here. And I think people would mostly see it as some sort of mental illness or deviation. So he wanted to at least be able to give me protection and companionship on my own terms. He was over the moon that I'm in love with him too, but he assured me that it would also be fine for him if it never happened, and I believe him. I also showed him this post, and he found it really funny that I was able to open up to a bunch of strangers before talking to him. It was a little embarrassing, but I wanted to be completely honest with him. Also, answering the people who asked if we wanted to have children, or if we were only doing this because of our family's pressure, we talked about it before starting to have a sexual relationship, and yes, we want to have children. Now that everything is out in the open, we're even more excited for that. Thank you for the advice anyway. Some of you were harsh, but I needed a wake-up call, I guess. In the comments, Matcha Magpie says, a reminder to adults in relationships that you need to talk to each other. It would solve like 90% of the relationship problems posted on Reddit. I don't understand why couples think it's so difficult to communicate with one another. Like, bro, the lovers have to talk to one another. Seriously, if you can't have the time to communicate or try, why are you even married or in a relationship at this point? I agree with you that communication is a magic superpower that we all have access to, but one that seems oddly elusive for many people. But the only thing I would push back on is when you say not know how to communicate anymore. I mean, let's not pretend like social media or smartphones or whatever has fundamentally changed people's willingness to communicate. Sure, we may communicate in different ways. I, for one, start crying and can't think clearly if I have to look someone in the eyes, so if the other person is willing, I prefer to have conversations over text so I can really pause and think and not just get overly emotional and shut down. So to me, that's a positive in how things have changed. But also, like in the past, communication was also not great. Spousal abuse was actively accepted and joked about. Spousal assault wasn't a legally defined term until like the 90s. Lots and lots of people were in unhappy marriages back then. They just didn't have the tools or even legal options to do anything about it. I think the kids of today and tomorrow will be alright. Our next post is by user ResourceOK9109, titled, Am I the asshole that I told my husband to stop supporting his adult daughter? I, 47 female, am very frustrated about this and thinking long and hard and want to know if my feelings are valid. My husband, 54 male, keeps supporting his daughter, 27 female, who is a single mom. Currently, the daughter lives with her mom and is asking him for help non-stop. I stopped working for a while due to a very bad accident and am living off pension. My husband earns enough to support us, but not to the extreme where he'll have too much disposable income. Just 6 months ago, the daughter asked for money for dental implants. I happily told my husband to be as generous as he can be since it's not always the case, and she rarely asks for money. After that first time, she just kept asking for more. One time it was grocery, next it's daycare bills, then phone bills. Just a week ago, she asked him to pay some of her bills because she doesn't have work now. It's becoming a habit, and I think that she's too old to be asking him for support and that this needs to stop. I told my husband how frustrated I am, and he was even more upset and disappointed because I'm being unreasonable, he said. Now, as of writing, he's giving her $700 per week, and I just found out yesterday that we are behind rent. I told him how I see him as a really good father, but I don't think it's right, especially when we barely can pay for housing, and he just shut me out. It's been 3 days since we stopped talking. Am I the asshole? Edit, I still pay half of our bills as of today. I lost a leg. That's why I'm jobless now and still in therapy. But I'm still looking for remote jobs every day. It's not like I want all of my husband's money when in 12 years, I was the one paying for most of our bills. In the comments, not the asshole. $700 weekly is insane. She is living at her mum's house and still needs that much weekly? Why does she have daycare bills if she isn't working? This is insane. I would honestly have a talk with your husband about this. I know it can be scary, especially when you rely on his income, but this is not okay. You guys are married and need to agree on money spending like this. He's a fool for wasting his money on his daughter like that. She's old enough to figure herself out. I understand helping out here and there, but $700 a week is absurd. OP says, this is what we talked about before. We paid for daycare, but she only tried to work for a week and stopped because she can't bear not to be with her kid 24/7. The following week, she still asked us for help for the daycare bill, and that's when I told my husband no. If she wants to be with the kid 24/7, why leave her at a daycare? Then my husband asked, would it be okay if we continue helping until she gets back on her own 2 feet? I was okay with it because my understanding was $700 a month. I don't want us to fight over his kids and money, so when I learned that it's a weekly thing, I didn't mind as long as our bills were paid, and I thought it was only going to be temporary, and maybe she is trying. 6 months and an accident later, it is still the same. Info. Does he see the bills, or is he just blindly trusting her? $2,800 per month is reaching drug/MLM/her boyfriend is in prison levels of expensive. OP says he's just sending it through Venmo each time and he's never asked. I would still be okay with it if our bills were being taken care of. If I didn't see the notice that we're behind rent, I probably would never have confronted him. How can you be okay with this? OP says, I love her and her kid. We would occasionally fly them out every time. I treat her as my own too, but it's just becoming out of hand and we can't foot the bill anymore. But my husband thinks that he still can, and I don't know if we can still be able to survive in the coming weeks. This is none of my business, but is there a chance that you'll be able to begin working again in the future? If so, maybe you could position it as him needing to worry about your own finances now, and then once there are 2 incomes again, he will be able to help her again when you guys are on a sturdier financial footing. And OP says, I'm looking for remote jobs now. I'm still in therapy, but it won't hinder the job since I can sit up straight now and type. I have some personal savings that I'll use to pay for our rent. I'm okay when she first asked, because she rarely did. But now we're not in a good situation, and it needs to end. I would understand the phone bills if it's from a 14-year-old daughter, but she's 27. I'm disabled and pay for my own phone. My husband wouldn't even bother paying for mine. That's unreasonable. And is it guilt? OP says, I'm thinking maybe it's the guilt. He divorced his first wife when she was 11. I told my husband how it's affecting our own financial status, but he's close-minded when it comes to this, and I think we're going to be homeless in the next coming months if this doesn't stop. He was paying $1,200 child support way back. He's giving her more than what he paid for child support now that she's grown. To some nasty troll-like comments, OP says, I lost my leg due to a very bad accident, but I've been looking for remote jobs for 2 weeks now. Still no luck. I don't think that I was a burden to my husband. It's the first time that I've ever been off work. And I see her as a daughter, but needed to put his on the position for clarification. We share 1 kid together. He is only 8 years old. Before we stopped talking, I asked him to stop giving her much and to lower it from maybe $700 to $450. But he said that I'm being unreasonable. I gave up, but when I figured that we're behind rent, that's when I asked him to stop. Not the asshole. He's putting himself and you at financial risk because of his daughter. This is not okay. How will he be able to help her at all if he goes down financially? If he even has a shot at helping her to stabilize, he has to be stable himself so that he can assist her when she really needs it. It's so bad for so many right now, but that just means that you have to be extra smart about it. Is his daughter working? Is she getting child support? These are things that could remedy her situation, or at least help. If he continues to throw money at her problems, she will lean more and more on him and not learn how to dig herself out. This is a huge disservice to her. Struggle makes people innovative and forces them to become independent and take care of themselves. I'm sorry you're going through this. You are not the asshole to illuminate the financial danger that he's putting himself in and you in by giving in to his daughter. OP says, I think she's becoming more comfortable asking him for support now, and every time she calls, we know it's time to wire the money. I'm okay with it if our finances are being taken care of. We split our bills, he pays the rent and utilities, and I take care of our monthly grocery. Thank you for being nice. It's tough right now. If your husband won't stop giving money to her when she asks, maybe you need to let his daughter know exactly what her requests are costing him. I bet she has no idea that he's behind on rent and can't really afford to be helping, and she'd probably be horrified, especially since her asking for money is very new behavior. I'd guess that his generosity with money for dental implants made her think that he has more money than he does, and he doesn't want to tell her because it'll be a blow to his ego. But given the choice between his ego and your housing, you need to choose your housing. Yeah, I think there's something going on here that the father knows about probably and won't tell OP because $700 a week is a crazy amount of money to be wiring someone. Also, as pointed out with daycare, you couldn't do your job because you wanted to be with your daughter 24/7, yet you need all this money for daycare. You have rent covered, I'm guessing, because you live with your mom. You should be getting child support. You should be getting some form of government assistance and food stamps and things like that. Why do you need $700 a week for daycare when you want to be with your kid 24/7? What are you doing while your kid is at daycare? What's going on there? What could you be doing in your free time that is so expensive? I wonder. And now, on to the update. Hello everyone. I've shown this to my husband to open up his mind a little, and he apologized. He said he needed time to think for days and came up with a solution. He's cutting his daughter off. She just called to remind him about the weekly allowance, and when he said that we can't afford it right now, she just started crying hysterically and told us how selfish we are, all while knowing how we are now behind rent. To those asking, yes, she knows about the accident. She even knows that we're behind rent, but still blames us as to why she won't be getting support anymore. My husband used to say that I have patience of a saint, and I just cracked now because it's too much. We need to care for our own son too, but since he's still being supportive and everything is being taken care of in regards of our kid, I didn't feel the need to include him in the equation. He's a good dad, and that will never change. I messaged his ex to know how much she's charging her for rent so we could do half. She was surprised because she's not charging her anything and is frustrated because all she does is party every weekend. Apparently it's not dental implants that he paid for, it's veneers, and they're just cosmetic. Thank you, Reddit. My husband and I are going to counseling, but he apologized, and that's a big step. In the comments, Catastrophe8503 says, so she's not paying rent, needs hundreds of dollars on a consistent basis, parties all the time, and recently needed veneers? Could she be on drugs? OP says, we honestly don't know, but could be, and we hope not. She was living a luxurious lifestyle and was buying things non-stop. Her mum questioned her at one point, and she said that it was gifted. When my husband told her about our situation and how we couldn't afford the $700 weekly as we were behind on rent, all she ever asked about was how many days will it be delayed this time. And right there and then, he told her there won't be any help from our side anymore. She just hysterically cried. I feel sorry for her and we still love her, but if my husband won't stop, it will just get worse. All the help we gave her, we weren't expecting anything back, but I just felt sorry for my husband who did all of that and not even a single thank you, but rather, screw you for not wiring me money anymore. She became completely dependent and didn't try working again because she's getting a full salary's worth, and it's somehow a mistake from our end. Seriously, as her family, you guys need to at least be prepared that this is a drug thing. It definitely could just be a regular entitled behavior, and addiction doesn't in any way excuse her behavior, but if she's desperate and she's been cut off, especially with access to a child, eyes up. Some bells can't be unrung. OP says, only source of info now is the ex-wife. She's been updating us, and anything suspicious she said, she'll tell. We're willing to put her on rehab if that's the case. She found a circle that isn't really good for her, and the only thing she'd been addicted to lately is Instagram, as per mum. Do not put her into rehab unless she asks for help. Rehab on someone who doesn't want to get clean is a waste of money. It sucks, but it's the honest truth. Unfortunately, this is really true. I've seen two people both just get right back to their addiction after they got out. One was in 3 different times, and it never worked. Any help towards an addict who doesn't say that they need help and wants to get clean is enabling. You cannot help them. Your only option is to distance yourself. They need to hit their rock bottom. The longer you help them, the longer it takes. And unfortunately, many addicts die from this. It's not pretty, and especially if they're family/your child, I understand. I've had to deal with this, and it's an ugly truth. Anyone dealing with an addict, please get help for yourself and look into what it really takes. By distancing yourself from them, you may be able to help them when they're actually wanting the help, instead of draining your resources and allowing them to hurt you until you cut them off. MD Thomas says, quote, "She just started crying hysterically and told us how selfish we are. She's a grown woman. She made a choice to have a child. She needs to figure out how to make the money that she needs to support herself and her child. Still not the asshole." OP says, "In that amount of time that we were helping her, she could have been employed if she wanted to. She's a very beautiful woman and is very smart. I hope and pray that she gets her life back together without us helping. If she ever falters, we will pick her up, but she needs to really learn, and we honestly couldn't afford the money my husband provided her for. Fair play. She might be in a huff with you now, and that might last, but this is an important lesson for her. Her parents won't be around forever, and the girl needs to get a grip and learn to support herself. You both made the right call." OP says, "She is. But if I didn't say enough, then we will be the ones suffering. I honestly expected that she would understand the situation we're in now, but she took it the wrong way, and had seen me as a villain trying to take away her money. Money we could no longer afford. I'd rather be hated on than for her to not be able to be independent in raising our grandchild. We won't be here forever. Partying doesn't usually cost that much a month." OP says, "I just talked to the ex, and she's quite shocked as well. She said she takes care of our grandkid full time, and our stepdaughter kept on purchasing expensive stuff, and she was wondering where the money was coming from, and she kept saying that those things were gifts. She didn't even know that we were supporting her. She never tried getting a job, and it's partly my husband's fault since he was providing her more, but not anymore. In 6 months, she only tried once, and only for a week. My husband was frustrated because he said she never even asked him once how he's doing, but every time she calls, it's all about wiring money, and she gets irritated if it's a day late. That's information that my husband would never tell me before, but I can tell that he's just over the situation now, and he is now unloading his emotional baggage. Yikes. You guys, the parental figures, are definitely going to need to increase your direct communications in the future to make sure that she's not playing you all or playing you against each other until she becomes independent. And OP says, "We actually didn't feel the need to consult my husband's ex-wife about my SD's situation since she's an adult who we thought was in dire need of support. We believed that this was something she really needed to be able to grow, but we were wrong. We even paid for college for her for 2 years. That's why when it lasted this long and she's still jobless, it really made me frustrated. I'm just glad that my husband sees it through my eyes now. It took me a while to understand what is happening, and if not for you guys who helped, he never would've." Yeah, I'm very much glad that you guys figured this one out, but I'm still under the assumption that she's doing drugs here. As that first commenter on this one said, you really need to keep an eye on her and the child because some drug addicts will go to ridiculously insane lengths to get money. You're definitely not out of the woods in this situation right now. You have cut her off, and she may just be like a dying animal backed into a corner. Not a pretty situation to be involved in, and my heart goes out to you guys, and I really do hope you can sort this situation out because, yeah, it is not pretty. I do wish you all the best in that. Anyway, guys, I do hope you have a good day, night, sleep, whatever you're up to. I'll see you in the next episode. Have a good one. Bye.